Hello! Welcome back to Brenda's Books.
Thank you for coming back to listen to more of Sara's War. Today we are on Chapter 43. Here we go. Chapter 43, The Jag. Is everything all right? I ask. Yes, Chris says slowly. He doesn't sound convinced. Lead the way, I say. I follow the captain into the ever-increasing darkness, past two knolls before we stop at a small tank. He jumps up and holds out a hand to help me on. I sit next to him on the hull of the tank. He drives me up and over a meandering grassy terrain. I have to place both my hands on the cold steel to prevent myself from tipping over onto Chris's lap. Finally, he stops at Jack's large tent. My stomach twists into heavy knots as I follow Chris inside. Jack stands facing away from me at the far side of the tent with his hands on his hips and his head bowed low. Lexi sits on a fold-out chair in the center of the tent. "Hey there, Doc," she says. Jack turns to face me then. "Hi," I say to Lexi, although my gaze falls on Jack. His familiar soft stare lingers. He clears his throat, twice, and still no words escape his lips. I glance at Lexi for any clues, but she's chewing on her mouth and fidgeting with her jacket, not paying attention to me. Chris walks over to Jack and places a hand on his shoulder. All I see is the back of Chris's head as he speaks in Jack's ear with words too low to hear. Jack listens as he stares right at me. The nerves in my stomach rise through my chest and up my throat. I swallow hard. This is all very strange. The silence is frightening. I force my voice to speak. "You wanted to see me, sir?" Jack nods. He's still staring at me. I peel my eyes away from his and turn to Lexi. "Please tell me what's going on." "I'm sorry, Doctor," says Jack, pulling my focus back to him. "I'm trying to figure out where to start. Why don't you take a seat?" He opens up a green fold-out chair and places it across from him. He sits on a chair of his own, and Lexi and Chris follow suit. "Okay," I say, holding up my hands. "With you three sitting across from me like that really makes me feel like I'm on trial. What is this about?" "Move around," Jack says to Chris and Lexi, motioning with his arms to form a circle. They each promptly obey. Jack leans forward. I can't put a finger on how he's looking at me. He's careful and sympathetic and urgent all at once. "Sara, when Ryan died, did anyone come to you and tell you why?" "It was an airport shooting. Why are we talking about Ryan?" Jack leans farther so his forearms rest on his knees. "Did he have another job besides being a lawyer?" "No, why?" I can hear the panic in my voice leaking out. "She doesn't know, Jack," Lexi whispers. "I don't know what?" I say in a low, stern voice. "Look, I've been patient with all the secrets, and I really don't appreciate my private life being discussed." "No, I'm not trying to do anything like that," Jack says quickly. He rubs his palms together and bows his head before looking back up at me. "I worked with Ryan." "What?" My voice comes out a high shrill. Jack nods. "He was part of the CIA. I never met him in person, but sometimes we spoke over telecom when Special Forces helped with their missions." I shake my head vigorously. "Ryan was just a lawyer." "Did he travel a lot?" asks Jack. "Yes, but..." I shake my head again as I refuse to connect the dots. I rub my palms down my face. This is crazy. There's no way this can be true. Lexi rubs my back with strong, slow motions. "It's true, Sara," she says quietly. "How do you know it was him and not another Ryan?" I whisper. "Well, I wasn't sure at first, but when we were on the beach..." Jack clears his throat and looks away for one fleeting moment. "And you told me Ryan was blind in one eye. I remember speaking with a CIA agent who told me the same thing about himself." My blood runs cold. My mind is whirling, trying to come up with possible explanations to refute this disturbing news. At the time, I didn't know his name was Ryan, of course. We all used code names. We called him the Jag because of his cyber stealth. Jack pauses to assess my expression. That does sound like something Ryan was capable of, but I do my best to keep a straight face. Ryan was brilliant at decoding, and he cracked a lot of the Asian terrorist messages. So when they figured out how to hijack American planes, Ryan became their first target. I lick my lips, which now taste like sandpaper. I try to breathe deep, but my lungs only manage to grace me with short pants. Jack is sweating now. His eyes look distraught and stressed. The Daggard Rose, our prisoners, aren't really spies in the normal sense. They're an assassin group, hired by the Asian terrorists. And he pauses and rubs a hand over his mouth. Just when I think he's going to stop, he does it again. And when Chris was going through their things, he found this on the Scandinavian. He reaches into his breast pocket and hands me a small picture, front side down, with the words "The Jag and his wife" written on it. I flip it over and gasp at the sight, clasping a hand over my mouth. There in my fingertips lay a picture that I've longed to see, but now ache to remember. A picture of Ryan and myself. I clench my jaw to keep the hysterics from bubbling out of me. Jack reaches for my hand, but stops himself and rubs his together instead. I didn't want to tell you until we could ship the Daggard Rose somewhere else, but he throws his hand down in a straight line. There are so many reasons that's not working right now. Reasons I can't control. And I couldn't wait any longer to tell you. I nod, trying desperately to keep myself composed. They couldn't possibly come looking just for me, though. Now that Ryan's gone, why would they care about getting to me? My voice comes out soft and crackly. They didn't come here for you, but... But what? Jack's mouth tightens into a hard line. Chris jumps in. Remember the man who your nurse shot? Yeah, I say slowly. Well, we found this picture in his camera/gun. Chris slides a picture out of his jacket pocket and hands it to me. My eyes bulge. It's a picture of me standing in the aisle of the bus, looking terrified. I see Randy in the back with his hand on his gun. My frame freezes. I can't move my eyes off the horrifying photo of myself. So what you're saying is, now that they know I'm here, they will try to... Jack scoots his chair closer to me and leans forward again. Sara, I promise nothing will happen to you. I know these guys' tricks, and we've got a tight leash on them. I promise they won't even come near you. Jack's tone is nothing but confident and reassuring, but chills race down my spine nonetheless. Lexi puts a hand on my shoulder. He's right, Doc. I hand the photo back to Chris, feeling dazed. So why did they come here? And please don't tell me it's some kind of generic threat on America. I know it's more specific than that. Jack glances at Chris, who answers with a slight shake of his head. Jack opens his mouth to speak, but then Lexi cuts in. Don't tell her, Jack. She's already out of her mind worried. This isn't going to help. Jack swallows hard. They're after Tashurgi's killer. That must be a member of Special Forces, I assume. Wait a minute, I internally monologue. Lexi told me Tashurgi was killed just before we came to Bridgetown. And that was the same time Jack and Lexi were on a highly classified mission. That must mean... Shock slashes through my frame as I put the pieces together. I gaze at Jack's grave expression. It's you, isn't it? I whisper. They're after you. Jack says nothing, but the torturous look in his eyes says everything. And that concludes Chapter 43. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you come back next week for Chapter 44, which is called The Unthinkable. And not to give a spoiler alert, well, this isn't a spoiler alert, but next week you get to find out Sarah's dreaded memory. So yay for that. I wish all of you a very happy 4th of July. And if you don't live in America, have a great week.
If you want to find out more about Brenda's books, you can visit brendasbooks.net. Until next time, take care.